Secret guardians, starry bright, fiery ones beyond our sight, saints of yore, Buddhas too, guiding lights to me and you.
Chapter 5. Belfast, Northern Ireland, Ardoyne District. Byrne Residence. April 1999. Over the next few weeks, Anna and I became friends. It started the day after she approached me during lunch hour. Sitting at the same corner table as the day before, I confided in her that I was living by myself in the apartment I'd shared with my grandmother before she passed. Anna began to visit me there after school. She was quick to compliment my book collection and would tactfully fill our conversation's pregnant pauses whenever I would lose my train of thought. My razor-sharp mind was not what it once was. We fell into a routine of afternoon tea twice a week. Though our backgrounds were different, we had much in common. Neither of us had much patience for surface chat. On the contrary, we both liked to dive deep into things, especially our own burning questions. For Anna, spiritual discussions often took center stage. She loved to tell me stories of Russian devotees of Jesus and Mary who had persevered in their faith despite brutal persecution by the Soviet regime. She would read from books written in Russian, translating for me as she read, about the holy elders, the ones in the Orthodox faith who had spiritual gifts. One cannot become an elder unless he has the gifts of the Holy Spirit, I remember her saying. These monks could see through mountains and into the hearts of souls. I was fascinated. I especially loved the story of the old nuns of Diveyevo. Disguised as peasant women, they would gather in a dilapidated hut on the edge of town for decades, faithfully keeping their vigils under the noses of the communist apparatchiks. Anna's stories began to seep into my conscience. I felt ashamed of where I was in my life compared to these selfless ones. Still, as my emptiness returned at the end of the day, I would find myself heading out into the streets again, drawn like a moth to my stoner friends and the hazy camaraderie they offered. One day, in late April, Anna came over for an afternoon tea that would reset my journey for years to come. That day, the initial subject was her family. When the Soviets fell, there was much crime, Anna said. Any Russian family who could afford to leave our country left. Mama sent her resume to hospitals all over the UK, but the only one that replied was here in Belfast. They invited her to come. One of the doctors there knew her work in emergency care, so we moved here. Papa found work here too and later set up his own business. So will you ever go back? I asked. Go back? Maybe someday I will, but we have no plans. We are Irish now. I had never left Northern Ireland. I wondered what it would be like to move to a country where I would have to learn a completely new language. Do you miss Russia? I asked. I think about where I grew up sometimes, and I miss it a little. But I was only 10 when we left. So the memories have, how do you say, faded? Yes, faded. Now I love Ireland. The freedom here and the music too. Up until that point in our relationship, our conversations had been mostly one-sided. Anna talked and I listened. Not that she wasn't interested in my story, she definitely was. She would probe me from time to time, trying to get me to open up. I would deflect these attempts, usually with a short answer or a light comment. Anna would read my signals and back off. She never pushed. It was one of the reasons I felt so comfortable with her. But I was living a double life. While Jian of the day was reasonably functional, Jian of the night was trapped in a shadow world. Not quite Jekyll and Hyde, but there were parallels. And I was so scared of Anna finding out. I finally had one true friend, and I was terrified of losing that. Still, I couldn't stonewall her forever. I had to tell her about me, and I did want to. I decided I would start with auras. Anna, can I tell you something? Part of me cringed as I said it. Anna took a bite of one of the butter scones I'd baked for the occasion. Delicious. She eyed me, her grin playful. It's about time, Devushka. It meant girl in Russian, and had become her pet name for me. I'm serious, Anna, I replied. Okay, Devushka, I will no longer show my teeth. Serious face only. I laughed, the tightness in my stomach lessening. Show your teeth, strange Russian girl. Anna met my eyes, then dropped her smile, her face turning serious for real. Tell me. I want to hear. I took a shaky breath, then told her about my now missing gift of seeing into a realm that others could not. I started with the embarrassing incident in my science class 3 years prior, and my shocked discovery that I was peering into what some called the subtle world, as I would later learn. I recounted my confession to my grandmother, and the promise she had extracted from me to forget what I was seeing. In my usual all-or-nothing manner, the words spilled out. Anna listened intently. I felt her care. Thankfully, there was no alarm in her as there had been with Mola. These things, if you cannot see them anymore, and if your grandmother told you to forget them, why can you not let them go? I sat with that question for a minute. I've been trying to figure that out myself, I said finally. Anna leaned in toward me, cradling her face in her hands, her elbows resting on the kitchen table that I'd transformed into a tea house setting, complete with tablecloth and napkins. Why do you try? She persisted. I got up and walked over to the kitchen window, peering out. Rain was coming down in sheets. Are we ever going to see the sun? I asked rhetorically. I could do with a grand stretch. Anna sat patiently waiting for me to return to her question. I was thinking about it, though not clearly. I don't know. Maybe I'm not supposed to forget, I suggested. That is one possible. It's possibility, Anna. Okay, one possibility then. Thank you, teacher. You're welcome. Now it is my turn to play teacher. Pay attention, Devushka. I'm all ears. You're what? Never mind. I loved bantering like this with Anna. Simple joys. Okay, now, you see colours around people. I used to. And not just people's auras, all living things have colours around them. But you don't see these anymore. Right. Since when don't you see? And tell me again, why does that bother you? I gave Anna an exasperated look. Why, Devushka? Because that's how I've always seen the world ever since I can remember, I blurted out, and now I can't. Since when don't you see like you used to, Devushka? You didn't answer that part. Later, looking back on this conversation, I realized that I had been reading my friend completely wrong. I thought she was simply not understanding me, when actually she was subtly directing the conversation to where it needed to go. Since just after Mola died. Anna drew a breath. Listen closely, Devushka. I couldn't meet her gaze. A foreboding came over me. There is talk of you and this, she said, holding an imaginary joint to her lips. This is poison, Jian. Anna never called me by my given name. It was always Devushka. It was a signal to pay attention, as if my life depended on it. And maybe it's why you can't see like you used to? I don't smoke it, I protested. Jian, smell your jacket over there on the hook. I'm sure my face turned crimson. Then the tears came. I'd been exposed by my closest friend. I don't smoke it, Anna, I said again, though with less conviction. But I know it affects me when I'm there. Where is there, Jian? Two of the girls I hang with have a place. Who are they? Anna asked softly. Friends. I'd rather not say their names. They go to St. Francis? I shook my head. No, they're older. Where exactly do you go? Westland Road by the golf club. I choked out. Anna, I can't stay here alone night after night. It's so lonely. And at least I don't end up somewhere with a boy. They come on to me, but I come back to my own bed every night. But you come back stoned every time. My tears came again, though I fought them. Anna leaned in once more, holding me in her gaze. This time I met her eyes. They too were wet. Devushka, you are not alone. You have to promise to stop going to this place. I know about this marijuana. It's hashish, but whatever. Worse! If you don't smoke, then why do I smell it on you? I was horrified. I had no idea my secret was so obvious. I'm there when they pass the pipe, I replied. In the circle with them. Yes? So, I get a contact high. Was this conversation never going to end? It was like going to Catholic confession, except there was no hiding my identity from my confessor. From the smoke in the room, I just don't get as wasted as they do. You do not get as wasted, but you get high. Yes, I whispered. They are both the same, Devushka. Anna paused before continuing. Promise me you won't go there tonight. I will call you later. I will speak with Mama about this. No, please don't. I have a mother, Devushka, but you do not. She can help. I will call you tonight. Please be here to answer. Anna, too, was sounding like a mother. I was shaking. Could I do this thing? God help me, I whispered under my breath. My first prayer in weeks. I stayed home that night, shaken and afraid of what cutting my ties with my stoner friends would mean. For some reason, I felt guilty about even considering not going, even though I knew that I was on a dead-end path with them. Getting high was the only thing we had in common after all. That evening, Anna was true to her word. She called to check on me, and it helped. The next day she came over again, which was also a great help. Over tea she told me the story of her grandparents' ties to the famous Russian mystics, Nicholas and Helena Roerich, which led in a roundabout way to a discussion of the family devotion to what they called their morning ritual. Anna's parents always began their day with a time of prayer, invocation and song. Though they taught their children in this vein and encouraged their participation, the kids' attendance was never required. Nevertheless, Anna grew to love her family's daybreak ritual. She told me she wanted to teach me a shortened version. So the following week she brought over 2 icons of the Eastern saints, Maitreya and Kuan Yin, an exquisite carving of Saint Seraphim, a holy man revered by Orthodox Christians, and some votive candles. I provided Mola's Buddha statue, our precious Christmas nativity set, and the picture of Jesus that had hung above my bed. And so we set up an altar in Mola's old room, covering her bedroom dresser in an embroidered white linen tablecloth and arranging the focuses there. So began a practice that I've continued to this day. We start by inviting the holy ones and angels to join us, Anna explained that auspicious day. It's just like asking friends to come visit. You have to send out the invitations, and you have to address the invitations to those you wish to come. We began with Anna's opening invocation. Then we took turns choosing devotions. I quickly came to love the mix of mantra, prayer and song. It turned out to be just what I'd needed to pick me up from where I'd fallen. They could be anything from reciting Our Fathers and Hail Marys to intoning Buddhist mantras, or from making up our own prayers to harmonizing our voices while singing old Christian hymns. The last was by far my favorite. Singing the hymns I'd learned as a child almost never failed to transport me to a sublime place. Though I was sorely tempted, especially at first, I never went back to my stoner friend's apartment. The girls phoned me a few times trying to get me to go out with them, but I begged off each time. I came close one night. They had invited me to a party on a Friday night, but I ended up losing my house keys. I searched everywhere. By the time I found them in a coat pocket, which I was sure I had checked twice already, it was getting quite late, so I decided not to go. I will always wonder if my guardian angel shielded my eyes from those keys for just long enough to keep me from going.
I hope you're enjoying Jian's story. I also hope her journey comforts you, even the scenes that detail her struggles. For we all have struggles. But like Jian, we also have a mission in life and a divine destiny to discover.